was just starting off.
Just starting off. He was McMahon would put him in with Andre to have a big guy for Andre to squash. He was the
big guy versus big guy there.
Yeah, and he that in his book, when I heard this, I had to laugh. That in the book he says that they give Zbyszko and Bruno credit, but I'm the guy who was responsible for that gate. But anyway, this thing with Zbyszko is that it was one of the most successful things, and this made me happy too, because I thought, wow, what a way to go out of the business. Because right after this whole thing, that's when I went out.
Right.
I opened up the Meadowlands for wrestling, if you remember. Went to Japan, did my little farewell tour, because Baba had asked me if I would.
You wrestled George Steele at the Meadowlands.
At the Meadowlands on October the 4th. October the 5th, I was on a plane to Tokyo. I landed October the 6th, which was my birthday.
Right.
I did a 10-day tour of Japan with Baba, and I come home and I was retired. And that was the end of the career.
I've got to rewind one more time. Back to the tape, to the second title reign. We didn't discuss the match, Chase Stadium, of you against Pedro Morales. Pedro was world champion. Now, I've got to ask you this, okay, because the papers reported this, in the magazines we had mentioned it. Were you jealous that Pedro Morales was champion? They said there was so much friction and jealousy that Bruno wants that belt back.
Nothing could be further from the truth. What happened was, Pedro and I liked each other. We were pretty good friends. And I had always said to McMahon, I says, you know what the fans are really being deprived of? They're being deprived. I says, you guys have this mentality, which I argued a number of times, which maybe you didn't even know, maybe you did, that they had this notion that a good guy had to wrestle a bad guy, and that was the only way that they would think something could be successful. Anything else would never work. I said to Vince one time, I said, Vince, make a match between me and Morales, but I made it very clear I want no part of the belt, no part at the time. But I wanted to have the satisfaction of trying to show everybody, all the promoters, if executed properly, a good scientific match, that people would eat it up. I'll tell you the only bad thing that happened, and if you remember, I don't know how good you remember, it rained for 3 days and 3 nights. Constant rain. McMahon kept saying, rain or shine, the match will go on. People showed up with the umbrellas. They showed up with blankets. It was cold.
It was
Remember
freezing,
how cold
absolutely.
it was? freezing. We went an hour, 17 minutes.
In the rain?
Absolutely. And the winds were strong. But Billy, and
everyone stayed there.
Nobody left.
No one.
And it was one great match. Eddie Graham, the late Eddie Graham, said that he never believed that we would last long at the pace that we took that match in, that we could possibly carry it through for all that.
There were so many rumors going around that the Puerto Rican fans were going to riot unless Pedro won. Did you hear that? No? Okay, all right.
No riot.
No riot took place.
But I cherished that opportunity because I felt that we proved the point, and if they didn't take notice of it, but if you remember, Baba came from Japan, so that match, and different promoters came from different parts of the country.
All over the United States and all over the world.
And they all said that was one of the greatest matches they'd ever seen. And so I felt like I proved the point. And that's all I was after. And believe me, I was after. Look, I was not after no title. I didn't want it the second time around because I didn't need it. My goodness, I was in demand. The Mushnick wanted me to come more often. You know, Paul Bosch was asking for me. Canada was asking for me. Overseas, I could have gone, as often as I wanted. That was great for me. It was a rejuvenation of my enthusiasm for the business because I wasn't beating up my body so bad like I did all those years. So with the Morales thing, it was strictly, I wanted to prove a point, and I wanted to give that opportunity to prove that point. And I felt very, very much like I accomplished that, and it gave me great satisfaction.
Okay. When did the deep bitterness toward McMahon Jr. start? What was the catalyst for that whole thing?
It was because when for example, one time, who was it that got hurt? Might have been Jake the Snake Roberts. And Vince McMahon had this tour going on we had to go down Texas, then we go to New Mexico, we had to go to Jackson, Mississippi, and he wanted me to take his place. And so I don't want no part of the ring in these days.
This is after you retired.
After I retired, I was commentating, and I won't get into all the details as to why I was put into that lousy position. I was very much against it, but okay, I agreed. I told him, because he already knew my discontent about what was happening, what I had seen. I was very unhappy seeing all this drug stuff. So I said to him, okay, I'll tell you what, if it's that important, I'll do it. I says, in one condition, I will not ride with any of these wrestlers from when we got to Arizona, like from Phoenix to Tucson, you had to drive it. Or when you went to any city, you had to. I said, I will not go in a car with anybody because they rent cars. I said, because I said, I told you before, I'll tell you again, I will not be in an automobile that, God forbid, it gets stopped and they find drugs in that thing. Bruno Sammartino is going to be accused like everybody else was going to be in that car. I says, and I will not do that for anybody. So he says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send an agent that you can be comfortable with. It's Jay Strongbow. He says, I'll send Jay Strongbow. He'll rent a car at each airport, and you and him, just you and him, and I'll see to it that all the other guys go on their own. I said, under those conditions, I'll do it, and I did it. But I was already very resentful of what I was seeing going on in the business. You know what I mean? I saw the direction he kept moving towards more and more. I disagreed with it, and I felt that eventually it was going to bring scandals to the business because of all the stuff that was going on. And I just felt that just to listen to some of the meetings, production meetings I was in, and the ideas they were coming up with, I thought, man, I said, I don't belong in this world. I said,
different world, wasn't it?
It's a different world, and it's not one that I'm in. So that's when I finally called him and I said, I'm out of here. I said, I'm leaving, I'm gone. And he said, why? And I said, you know why. I said, I'm very unhappy with everything that's happening. I don't want no part of it. I said, there's going to be scandals. And I said, and you're allowing it, or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact words. And I got out. And when I got out, and then somebody else died. I don't remember who was it, Gino Hernandez or somebody else died. Yes. And then I became more vocal about it. I thought something's got to be done, or this is going to continue, death after death. And that's when I then really went heavy.
And you went on talk shows, as we said at the beginning of the show here, et cetera. And to this day, you're still speaking out against all this.